On the one hand, you want to record what happened. And so a graphic facilitator's job, as I see it in most meetings, is to record and channel as faithfully as they can what's actually happening in the meeting and turn it into visual metaphors and key phrases. StoryThreader's charter is almost orthogonal to that. It's like, it has to be related to the meeting, but their job is to pick up Minority Report small things and amplify them and give them narrative in order to enrich the conversation that's happening in the meeting. So it's a different charter. I think it's really important to record the raw data. I think it was Joseph who was asking earlier, like, why transcribe everything? I'm like, well, the raw data really matters, because what happened, even what the tonality of the person saying it matters. And yet, from my perspective, the most useful things I do when I'm taking notes is, can I summarize something in as crisp a form as I can possibly muster and drop that into the node where that matters, and then connect it to related items. And that is at the opposite end of note taking. What if game shifting becomes like at the frame? Think of it as an enhanced browser window. And a dashboard is merely you pick the things you want to see at the particular time. And game shifting says, the version I saw that Art hosted for me was, here's the roadmap of where we are, which is a little bit, Lauren, like you were saying, like, where are we in the process? Here is the Kanban style team Kanban board of to do, doing, done. And then below is group process techniques and a bunch of other stuff. And then imagine if if you were like, gosh, we're sort of stuck, here's the kind of question we have. Imagine if there was a bot listening to you, offering advice. And imagine if there were a series of tools at hand that understood everything about pedagogy, so that everything that was in the book and handbooks and websites was available as tools and process and techniques. Imagine if everything in Liberating Structures, ditto, same exact thing, was all completely just available. And that when you picked, I want to run a World Cafe, but I don't know how, it could coach you through it, and also it could connect you to a trained facilitator for hire to help you through the first couple things, and you could even get certified in it if you felt like it, right? Little bridge and find some funding for a mock-up and do the simplest thing that could possibly work. I think we might have some super interesting tools that we could then use for corporate sense making or organizational sense making to start a business to basically bootstrap what CICOLAB and OGM are all trying to do.
For you guys before, it isn't pedagogy if it's just pure learning. If they're contributing something that others can build on, then it's more like pedagogy.
Laughing when I end up here because I needed some kindred spirits, I guess, to know that this is the future and this is what we should be doing. And yeah, I don't know. And yeah, I wrote the original pedagogy and it definitely needs to be remixed. Joe and I are in a
These things just help ourselves when we've got our day-to-day agency work. And this one's about when you've got a story, then how are you going to reach different types of audiences? How do you break it down into little different parts or tweak the messaging for a different audience? And like, it just puts it on rails basically. So it's kind of like you can see similar ingredients as a story canvas, but the story canvas being like a brain dump tool. This is more like, okay, we got all of the post-it notes and everything. Now let's put them in order and on a sequence of getting it out there and getting a result. And talk about the campaign part of the story canvas. I used to say, put 40% of your effort into creating and making a great story, and then put 60% into getting it out there and reaching people. But now I'm like, put 20% into making it and 80% into getting it out there, because really anything like anything that's well distributed is going to get you a great result over something that's perfect but never reaches an audience. So
there's a lot of value in just boom, 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 and just, not trying to be perfect or anything, and just getting something there.
In the formal learning, encouraging and giving permission or supporting or advocating for creativity, and saying that's okay and not assessing it. So then that blend of that informal learning at the same time is somehow integrating it into the formal learning. And what does that look like?
Very specific request to come up with 5 or 6 points. I noticed that there's 6 of us here, so maybe each one of us could contribute 1 point that we would like to see discussed more. We need at this moment to kind of have that takeaway summary, have some points for further discussion, because there will be a further discussion at some point, and we might want to then remind the people who are in that discussion what they said a month ago.
reasonably digestible, or that reinforces points, like the way I looped things was just a way of, is the initial way. This is what I do for my own personal learning. Reinforce those words. The next level would be like, let's make the words, digital. I relate to it a lot as the way I mix is like, I call them minutes. They're just like the minutes, but they're like remixed minutes from Zoom sessions.
Flow session, rather than going 4 more hours, could be spent, that time could be spent collaboratively distilling the main points, the take-home points, and then everyone could get on with their life with those take-home points distilled, and then they'd be there. It does work in the Pedagogy project because we almost universally devote the last 10 minutes to formally writing down what happened in the meeting and figuring out what the next steps are. Yeah,
why don't we like tighten things up and just like have these rituals?
The perfect thing to dovetail with your idea about connecting the groups, because then you could sort of say, not rather than the minutes or the whole chat or all the videos or waiting till the production was done, each of these groups could send a little 150-word summary, like these were what we thought were the main takeaway points. And so on CICOLAB could send it to Metacogs, and Metacogs could send it to Pedagogy if we need on
Text group. And then if we take the text, which could be the text from the meetings, and then we just go into images. What images do we see correlating? Not trying to put it in a linear story plot, but getting, even if we began to create folders of images, if people help source that collectively, then in editing, at least, you could actually go into the,
I think this is a much better, Jimmy, you're so right. This is much better, getting people to just do stuff and find images, find sounds, and put it together like that, instead of like, hey, what's the story? Yeah, let's not strive for amazing. Let's just strive for something done. And that is,
the plot is the last thing. The story is the last thing. Who is in these stories we're talking about? I don't know. I can infer, but there's nothing. I don't think anybody's mentioned the word character.
right.
You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to what if we piece this idea? I hear story a lot, but I don't hear any of the elements that make stories being mentioned.
Okay.
We break it into text, image, and sound. A story brainstorm would involve character, theme, premise, and then you map that over time, over a plot.